Hey guys! What's up? Alpha Lion Simba here, and welcome to another episode of Magnificent and Mythological. I've talked about dragons before on this segment when I talked about Chinese dragons, but now it's time for me to talk about European dragons. So, let's begin. In and after the early Middle Ages, the European dragon is typically depicted as a large, fire-breathing, scaly, horned, lizard-like creature. The creature also has leathery, bat-like wings, 4 legs, and a long, muscular, prehensile tail. Some depictions show dragons with one or more of feathered wings, crests, ear frills, fiery manes, and ivory spikes running down its spine. According to the Discovery Channel's docu-fiction program, Dragons, a Fantasy Made Real, dragons gain the ability to fly by storing hydrogen and other gases inside glands within their bodies, and they gain their ability to breathe fire via chewing on large amounts of platinum, and to keep their mouths from getting singed whenever they breathe fire, they have a false palate, akin to crocodiles. And another thing that Fantasy Made Real said, European mountain dragons would mate after forming a courtship display, and after the eggs were laid, they would use their fire breath to incubate the eggs. The gender of the hatchlings would be determined by the incubation temperature, much akin to crocodiles. And according to the book Dragonology, European dragons would spend much time caring for their young after they hatch, and a firm bond develops quickly between the hatchling and the parent. And there was a part in Dragons, a Fantasy Made Real, where the female mourned the death of her daughter. Although a winged creature, the dragon is generally to be found in its underground lair, a cave that identifies as an ancient creature of the earth. And in folk tales, dragon's blood often contains unique powers, keeping them alive for longer or giving them poisonous or acidic properties. Unlike Chinese dragons, however, which are often used as symbols of good luck or power, more often than not, dragons in European mythology are used as symbols of evil. The typical dragon in Christian culture protects a cavern or castle filled with gold and treasure. An evil dragon is often associated with a great hero who tries to slay it, and a good one is said to give support or wise advice. And the dragon's barbed tail can be used as a weapon in battle, while in flight, it acts like a rudder. In European mythology, dragons have very good eyesight adapted to see in the dim light of caves, which is well suited for watching over its hoard of plundered treasure. And its fiery breath lights the skies. Chainmail provides no defense against its crushing jaws and venomous fangs, as a reservoir of venom is located in the upper jaw. And in European mythology, a dragon's typical diet consisted of cattle and sheep. And in many legends, various parts of the dragon are believed to have medicinal properties. Anyone eating a dragon's heart would be able to understand the speech of birds, and eating the dragon's tongue gives one the power to win any argument, and dragon's blood provides protection against injury from swords. Now, let's have a look at some notable European dragons. First up is Beowulf's dragon. In Geatland, a region south of Sweden, is where Beowulf met the mighty dragon in battle. In the battle, Beowulf strikes the dragon with his sword, but the blow glances off of the beast's terrible hide. Beowulf is engulfed in dragon flames, a sight so terrifying that his army flees. Only the faithful Wiglaf remains to help. Beowulf breaks off the blade of his magic sword in the dragon's head. Bitten on the neck by the dragon, Beowulf is soaked in his own blood but continues fighting. Wiglaf stabs the dragon in a vulnerable place, and Beowulf slashes it through the middle, cutting the monster in two and ending its life. Sadly, though, Beowulf died from his battle wounds. The dragon's treasure is removed from the cave and buried with Beowulf, while all the pieces of the dragon's corpse was thrown into the sea. The next is Balaur, a three-headed dragon. According to the legend, by dribbling his saliva, Balaur made many precious stones for the villagers, which they exchanged for beautiful robes. But while they were very grateful, the riches were distracting them, while Balaur seized their princess and took her prisoner. Although the princess is beautiful, it is not her looks that attract Balaur, but the fact that she is the most desired girl in the village. When the young knight Fafnir arrives in the village, he agrees to help the villagers if they will give up their robes and stones to follow his plan. When Fafnir first entered Balaur's cave, he calls out, "Tell me what I am and no harm will come to you." But Balaur has no idea what this enemy is. In fact, the villagers have sewn together their robes and gems, which they propped up with tree branches to create a monster. Balaur tries to look more closely at the monster, but Fafnir jumps out and drives his sword into Balaur's belly, and the dragon collapses and Fafnir rescues the princess. And then there's the dragon that, according to legend, was slain by St. George. This beast lived by a spring that provided all the water for the citizens of Cyrene. Whenever the citizens wanted water, they faced the dragon. Unhappy with the diet of sheep that the citizens fed it, the dragon demanded human sacrifices. A human sacrifice was to be given to the dragon daily before it allowed anyone to draw water from the spring. The only fair way to determine the daily victim is by drawing lots. When the princess was chosen as the next victim, her father, the king, offered the citizens all his riches if they will spare his daughter, but they refused. The princess was tied to a wooden stake near the spring when St. George, a soldier of the Roman Empire, discovered her and untied her. He charges the dragon on horseback. His sturdy lance penetrates deep enough to only wound the foul creature. Using the princess's sash as a leash, George and the princess led the injured dragon into town. St. George announces that he will finish off the dragon if the citizens converted to Christianity. They agreed, and George drew his sword and killed the beast. Then there's Nidhogg, a dragon from Norse and Germanic legend. It lives in the realm of the dead known as Niflheim or Helheim, and its name means terror of corpses. Nidhogg eats the flesh of dead people thrown down to it from the earth, and it's known to suck the blood of life's less honorable people, such as liars, cheats, and murderers. So Niflheim was a fitting home for these people, so it was essentially their equivalent to hell. And Nidhogg's home is a pit of venomous serpents near Hebridean, or the Bubbling Cauldron, a spring that is the source of the world's rivers. Tales of Nidhogg were found in myths from many European countries, including Germany, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. The final dragon I will cover in this video is Ladon, a 100-headed dragon from Greek mythology. Its 100 heads never sleep, and the 200 blazing eyes perpetually keep watch over the Garden of Hesperides. Each one of its awful heads spoke in a different voice from jaws with teeth as sharp as knives. Ladon's thick tail fatally lashes anyone unwise enough to approach the dragon from the rear. His grip was so tight that no human can pry him off. The killing of Ladon was one of the 12 labors of Hercules, or Heracles if you're going by the Greek name. His 11th labor was to steal the golden apples that Ladon guards. He dipped his arrow tips in the blood of the Hydra and fired the poison. Is Goronich, a three-headed, seven-tailed dragon from Ukrainian and Russian mythology. His 6 eyes and heightened sense of smell were said to enable him to detect a maiden from a mile or 1.6 kilometers away. His iron-sharp claws ripped knights' suits of armor open as though they were aluminum cans. His wildly thrashing tails on the back end were as hazardous as his front, and his scaly body reeks of sulfur that hangs around Goronich like a sinister cloud. Goronich's uncle, the sorcerer Nimal Chelovek, kidnapped the Tsar's daughter and intended to wed her to Goronich. The princess was imprisoned inside the sorcerer's dark mountain castle. Desperate to have his daughter back, the Tsar offered a huge reward to anyone who could rescue the princess. Many princes tried, and they failed. That's when Ivan, a palace guard who understands the speech of animals, overheard 2 crows discussing where the princess was hidden. The Tsar gave Ivan a magical sword to help him on his rescue mission. Nimal Chelovek's fortress was unguarded because he believes no one would dare approach him. Nimal Chelovek turned himself into a giant when he discovers Ivan in his castle. The magic sword flies from Ivan's hand, killing the giant. Then it flies through the castle halls until it finds and slays Goronich, after which Ivan married the princess. Then there's the Wyvern, a bipedal dragon with no front arms, but rather replaced by just its wings. Legends of the Wyvern were originally formed in England. Although they weren't the largest of dragons, the Wyvern was surprisingly well armored with its shiny scales fending off most lances and projectiles. And the pointed tail adds to its terrifying appearance and inflicts deep wounds onto its prey. Because of their flesh-eating habits, wyverns make unsatisfactory pets. Although they are harmless as babies, dragons' bloodthirsty instincts always set in by adulthood. The wyvern was always associated with war, pestilence, and envy, and was believed to bring outbreaks of the plague wherever it went. British dragons have been known to inhabit places as diverse as caves, fields, woods, swamps, gullies, moors, cornstacks, waterholes, and abbey ruins. The Knucker, which, according to one mythology, rose from the Knucker Hole in Leominster, West Sussex. According to the Dragonology book, Knucker was found in damp woodland locations near food sources such as rabbit warrens. And even though it had wings, it couldn't fly. The Knucker could be 30 feet long and 3 to 6 feet high, and it had a venomous bite and mainly ate rabbits, deer, farm animals, and stray children. According to the original English myth, however, Knucker was aquatic. Its eerie eyes glowed with a chemical that allowed it to see great distances in the deepest waters and darkest forests. Its jaws could open wide enough to swallow a horse and cart whole. The teeth were longer than railroad spikes that lined the mouth that reeks the Knucker's nauseating breath. It had an eel-like body to navigate quickly and silently through the water, and in this case, its wings acted more like fins. And any person who crossed its path was just another meal to the knucker. The dragon squeezed its prey to death or shred its victim's flesh to ribbons with its venomous fangs. Jim, a farmer's boy from a nearby village, told the mayor of his village his plan to defeat the knucker. The mayor orders the villagers to help Jim with everything he needs. The villagers gave Jim all the ingredients for an enormous pie. Jim bakes the pie, laced with poison for the knucker. He hauled the huge pie out to the knucker hole using a borrowed cart and horse, and the knucker ate the pie, horse, and cart. The poison killed the dragon, and Jim chopped off its head with an axe. In fact, St. Mary Magdalene Church in Leominster contains the Slayer's slab, a gravestone dedicated to the hero who killed the knucker. Next was Fafnir, a dragon from Norse mythology. He had hard, leathery scales which could not be pierced by any weapon, despite of his belly being soft and unarmored. And, like a stegosaurus, he had 4 spikes on his tail. Fafnir was originally an ogre and the son of a dwarf king. He murdered his father and stole all of his treasure. Greed ran in Fafnir's family. His brother Regnin covets the treasure that Fafnir stole from their father. Regin persuades Sigurd to slay the dragon. Once Fafnir is dead, Regin planned to steal the treasures and kill Sigurd. Sigurd knows he could not defeat Fafnir with brute force, so he digged a trench along a path the dragon took. Armed with his father's sword, Sigurd hid in the trench, pulling branches and leaves over the opening so that Fafnir couldn't see him. Sigurd waited until Fafnir passed overhead and thrust his sword into the dragon's soft belly. Sigurd's hands were wet with dragon's blood after the slaying. He removed Fafnir's heart to roast it on a fire so that Regin could not eat it. Now for some Wizarding World dragons, starting with the Norwegian Ridgeback. At birth, the scales covering its body were thin and soft, but as the dragon matures, they thicken into hard, thick plates. The bronze horns are used to fight other dragons. During courtship, the males use their horns to strip trees of bark to impress the females. And like many dragons, their fangs were venomous, and they ate many large mammals, both land-dwelling and water-dwelling. They could even eat whales. And the Norwegian Ridgeback is very aggressive to its own kind, making it a very rare dragon. Ridgeback eggs are black, and the young develop fire-breathing abilities earlier than other breeds, at between 1 and 3 months. And dragon eggs are considered Class A non-tradable goods. Up next is the Hungarian Horntail. This dragon is a known wizard killer and is considered the most dangerous dragon breed. It has a whip of a spike-lined tail that can easily deal a killing blow to the dragon's enemies. And when it's not making a yowling scream that curdles the blood, the dragon shoots a stream of fire that can reach as far as 50 feet. Young Hungarian horntails use their spiked tails to break out of their eggs. And given that this is the most dangerous dragon breed, it can require anywhere from 6 to 8 well-trained wizards to subdue a fully grown Hungarian horntail with stunning spells. Then there's the common Welsh green. This breed is among the least troublesome of the dragons, usually preferring to prey on sheep and actively avoiding humans unless provoked. They blend well with the lush grass of their homeland, though it nests in the higher mountains where a reservation has been established for its preservation. The Welsh green's eggs are an earthy brown flecked with green. Next is the Hebridean Black. This is more aggressive than the Welsh and requires a territory of as much as 100 square miles per dragon. It can be up to 30 feet long and is rough-scaled with brilliant purple eyes and a line of shallow but razor-sharp edges along its back. It mostly eats deer but has been known to carry off large dogs and even cattle. Next is the Romanian Longhorn. It uses its long, glittering golden horns to gore its prey before roasting it. When powdered, the horns are highly valued as potion ingredients. The native territory of the Longhorn has become the world's most important dragon reservation, where wizards of all nationality study a variety of dragons at a close range. But, according to magizoologist Newt Scamander, the Longhorn has been the subject of an intensive breeding program because its numbers have fallen so low, largely because of the trade in its horns, which are now defined as a Class B tradable material. Next is the Swedish Short Snout, an attractive silvery blue dragon whose skin is sought after for the manufacture of protective gloves and shields. The flame that issues from its nostrils is a brilliant blue and can reduce timber and bone to ash in a matter of seconds. The short snout has fewer human killings to its name than most dragons, though it prefers to live in the wild and uninhabited mountainous areas. And finally, the largest breed of the wizarding world dragons, the Ukrainian Ironbelly, which is known to achieve a weight of 6 tons. It's rotund and slower in flight than the viper-tooth or longhorn. The Ironbelly is nevertheless extremely dangerous, capable of crushing dwellings on which it lands. The scales are metallic gray, and the eyes are deep red, and the talons are particularly long and vicious. And they've been a subject of constant observation by the Ukrainian wizarding authorities ever since an Ironbelly carried off a mercifully empty sailing boat from the Black Sea in 1799. Well, that was it. My second magnificent and mythological episode on European dragons. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Leave requests in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Alpha Lion Simba, out.